What is good? Happy Sunday, folks. Today we're going to be looking at Flutter, a UI software development kit. It's pretty hard to install, but it's got a ton of useful features that makes developing applications very easy. It's similar to Kivy, but it seems to have a lot more automation and ease of use. So let's get started. So the first thing you want to do is just Google Flutter. Go to the flutter.dev website, click on the link you see here, and go to the Get Started button. You then want to choose your operating system. We're going to go with Linux this time because that is what we use. And you will see that there are a ton of system requirements. We need to get Flutter. We need to check Flutter Doctor to make sure that we have Android SDK installed. And for Windows, you're going to also need to ensure that you have Visual Studio, and the process is actually a lot more complicated on Windows. Fortunately, on Linux, we're not going to have to worry about that, so the process might be a little bit easier. Let's get to it. So just as an aside, the reason I am doing this is because I had to install Flutter and create an application on my Windows laptop, and it was an extremely arduous process. But on Linux, looks like we can get away with just sudo snap install flutter -- classic. So let's give it a shot. Let's open up the new terminal. We're going to stay in base here, but why? We can create a new environment. Actually, we don't have to because snaps installs are not dependent on the environment. So we will sudo snap install flutter -- classic. Hit enter. Type in the password here, super secret, and looks like we're good to go. Then we want to type in Flutter Doctor, and that basically is just a tool to ensure that you have no errors or issues with Flutter. There are a lot of tools that Flutter provides that simplify the process of having to worry about the various dependencies, because there are a lot. We'll be coding in Dart, we'll be using a ton of dependencies and frameworks that need to be packaged together in a certain way. We'll have to have some YAML files that specify settings and things like that. There's a lot going on with Flutter, and they've done a good job of providing a ton of tools, so you really don't have to worry about it too much. So, Flutter Doc, let's see how our installation is looking. I imagine there's going to be a lot of issues here. Alright, so Flutter Doctor ran. It started out with initializing. Looks like it had to install some APIs and had to get the Flutter application unzipped and ready to go. We have a little welcome screen here. I didn't see this on Windows. And looks like it's going to download some assets for us, which we need. And it looks like we're missing Android SDK, which makes sense. I haven't installed it, and Android Studio, which I will install, and Android Studio will also install Android SDK for us. Don't have Chrome. I guess we can install Chrome as well. Since it is a multi-platform application development tool, you can create websites, and I'd imagine Chrome is just the easiest web browser to develop with because they offer a lot of tools for development. So let's get those installed. On Windows, you are going to need to install Java, you are going to need to install the Android SDK, and you are going to need to install Visual Studio, not Visual Studio Code. They are different. Just to show you, Visual Studio is a Microsoft application, and it offers some C++ tools that are necessary. So you're going to want to do that. If this gets a lot of views and there is a lot of concern, I will do the Windows installation. But at this point, if you're on this channel and you're trying to do ML, which Flutter is good for when you have a machine learning application that you want to publish online or on an application, you should be using Linux anyway. So let's try and move to Linux if you're not using Linux. But if the demand is there, we'll take a look at Windows. All right, so let's get those things installed. All right, real quick, the instructions tell you to update your path, but if you use sudo snap install, the path is already in your path, so you don't need to update it. Quite frankly, I think if you are able to run Flutter Doctor, your path should be fine regardless, and we can. So if you're using Linux, Ubuntu specifically, and you got Snap, then you shouldn't have to worry about that. If you're not using Ubuntu, maybe you're using Arch or something, you probably are going to have to install manually, and then you may need to update your path, but I don't think that is really an issue on Linux. Windows, it is a serious issue, and you are going to have to add environment variables to your path quite a bit, so just be aware of that. Alright, now it's time to install Android Studio. Unfortunately, it looks like this is a requirement. But you are not always going to be coding Android applications, and you're not always going to be working in an Android environment. Maybe the Android Studio comes with Java and Kotlin and some other features that make Flutter run better, so we got to install it. Flutter Doctor is going to give us that error, and we will not be able to run Flutter applications. So let's go ahead and install it. Electric Studio, terms and conditions here. We're just going to say that we've read it, even though we have not, and let that install here. This is a pretty big application, but I got pretty decent internet here, but on my laptop it did take maybe 5 minutes over Wi-Fi. So I think Android Studio is a couple gigabytes, so you are going to want to be aware of that. Okay, so we are in here, and I have Android Studio here. Let's go ahead and extract to, and we're going to go to the desktop, and we are going to go to home, and we are going to extract here. Okay, so it should, cool, and there we go, and there's Android Studio, and we got the bin here, and okay, so we opened up the file. We are going to click the install linux tar.txt, and we're going to follow these installation instructions. We unpacked it where we wanted it to be, which was in the user, which is me, and we're going to open up a console here, Control-Alt-T to open the terminal, and we're going to cd into Android Studio, bin, and we're going to type the command studio.sh. Alright, and the installation directory, we are not going to worry about that because we're not importing any settings. We're going to hit OK. We are not going to send usage statistics to Google, and we are good to go. So we're going to hit next here, and we're going to go with the standard installation, and we're going to go with dark QLI. Dark mode actually is very nice. I get headaches if I'm looking at the light mode too much. Even this is, there's a reason. I know it looks cooler too. There we go. We get the SDK build tools and all the things that we need for Flutter and for Android SDK. Hit next here, and we are going to accept that. Next here, and we can configure hardware acceleration, but I'm not going to be using Android Studio directly, so I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to finish, and we'll let this download, and we can finish here, and looks like we are in here. We can also go to more actions here, and we can go to the SDK manager, and there are some things here that we may need or we may not, but that is where you would go to add things or remove things as needed if there are errors. Let's see if there's error. Go ahead and close out of this, and we'll check. All right, so we didn't change any path settings or anything like that. Let's see if Linux will automatically handle it. So we'll go ahead and run Flutter Doctor again, and there actually is a -- Android licenses tag that we can add, but first we will just run Flutter Doctor regular. Okay, so we look like we kind of got it, and it kind of worked. All right, so let's get these command line tools. Let's go back into the bin here, and you can add this to path, but I'm not going to be using Android Studio for anything other than to get Flutter working. So we'll go ahead and click this studio.sh. We'll go ahead and execute that. This will open up Android Studio for us, and we'll go back to more actions and SDK manager like I mentioned before. Go to SDK tools, and we're going to want Android command line tools. Let's see if there's anything else that we might want to add, and for now that should be good. So we will hit apply, and it's going to install the command line tools. We'll hit OK, and it'll download for us. Cool. And we'll go ahead and minimize this, and we will run Flutter Doctor one more time without the Android license. You want to do this piecemeal just to make sure that things are working. You know, you do too many things at one time, you don't know what the issue is when issues arise. So it looks like that was good. So now we can go to Flutter Doctor -- Android licenses, hit enter, and there we go. So let's see what we got here. Please check here. Okay, so, oh, good thing we did this piecemeal. So we're having an issue with Java. Had we went straight to this, we wouldn't have known what caused this. So it looks like we're going to have to check our Java version, and fortunately that is also a issue that we have here. So let's go ahead and make sure that we got the proper Java version. Okay, so I remember having to do this on Windows as well. I had to move the contents of JRE into JBR or copy them. and this should be helpful. Make sure the path is right, obviously, and I should probably change this name, but let's just get this done here. Alright, cool. Now, go ahead and Flutter Doctor again. Alright, cool. So, it looks like we fixed the Java issue there, and let's go ahead and run Flutter Doctor Android licenses, and looks like we're good to go. So, simple fix. I do remember having to do that, so some previous knowledge was a little bit helpful. And we're just going to accept all of these agreements without reading a damn thing. Alright, cool. One more time just to see the green check marks. Alright, cool. And we don't have Chrome, so we're going to go ahead and download Chrome, and we should be good to go. Alright. So let's go ahead and download Chrome, and let's go ahead and use the deb, because we are a Debian/Ubuntu system, and we should be good to go here. We'll go ahead and open this up in the folder. We will go ahead, open this with software install, see if that'll work. That should make things a little bit easier. If that doesn't work, then we have some other options here. Alright, so this looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and install that, and it's wanting some authentication, so let's go ahead and give it that super secret password here. Hopefully nobody can ever figure that one out. So we'll let that install, and it looks like we are good to go. Let's go ahead and close out of here, and we'll go ahead and open the terminal, and we'll run Flutter Doctor again, seeing if Linux handles these issues automatically. And looks like it did. So we're all done with that. We have successfully installed Flutter, and next we're going to make ourselves a little application. But first, just to finalize this process, let's open up VS Code and install the Flutter extension. Alright, so here we are on VS Studio Code. Actually, just VS Code or Visual Studio Code, not Visual Studio. Two different things. Similar interface look though. It is what it is. All we want to do is go to the extension tab here and type in Flutter. And we want to install the one with the verification checkmark, and we can click on that, and it looks pretty good here. And we will go ahead and install this. The Flutter extension allows automatic compilation, packaging, a whole bunch of extremely useful tools when we're running Flutter apps. You are going to have a very bad time if you try and work with Flutter without this VS Code extension. To the point that if you are using Flutter, I would say that you are stuck with VS Code. If you are doing an Android application that you want to be portable to other platforms, maybe you can get away with using Android Studio, but VS Code is going to be your friend. And that's it. We've got this done, and in the next video we are going to create an application that I made for the hackathon that I competed in this weekend. I have not slept. I am extremely tired, but we will get it done. See you then.